Okay, all right. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I think we should be back in order now. So, okay, welcome to my streaming on the topic of Hong Kong hip hop and politics and profanity. So my initial idea is to juxtapose how hip hop was developed in America and how it was developed in Hong Kong. But then I thought maybe hip hop itself doesn't need to juxtapose with the hip hop in another culture. Maybe Hong Kong and hip hop in Hong Kong has its own characteristic to represent something about Hong Kong. So yeah, so I think before I start talking about the hip hop history of Hong Kong, which is quite short, it only got popularized in Hong Kong around year 2000. But before I go into that, I think it's quite important for us to know a bit about the Hong Kong, the Cantonese language, which is the language, it's a family of Chinese, but it's kind of colloquial in the southern part of China as well. So, and why I think it's so important to understand profanity, because of course it's offensive, but we should be aware of how accurate when we curse, because we only want to curse the object we are pointing to. So because something happened last year, actually a few months ago, so one of the protesters in Hong Kong was giving this sign. So I write this to Tang, the faggot, and Tang is the secretary of the police force in Hong Kong, which is okay. I mean, we understand that this person wants to curse the police, but it's quite problematic to use the word faggot, because it's pointing not only to Tang, but also the people from the LGBT community. So of course, I wouldn't say which. I think most of the profanity words are more or less problematic in some way, but I think there should be a better word for when we want to accuse somebody. So the 5 main words in Cantonese when you want to curse someone, or when you want to exaggerate something, is these 5 letters. Okay, so the first one is Diu, Lan, Gao, Chat, Hai. Okay, Diu, Lan, Gao, Chat, Hai. And of course, Diu is the most common one out of the 5. And there's something quite interesting about the Chinese, the Cantonese profanity. It's you can be very playful with it. And I'll give you some example. Okay, so the first one is Diu, which means fuck. And the most common phrase we use is Diu lei lo mo, which is fuck your mom's, well, actually without the stinky cunt, which is just fuck your mom. And when you want to escalate it, when you feel really angry, you can say Diu lei lo mo chao hai, which means fuck your mom's stinky cunt, which is pretty bad. I mean, unless you're really angry about something, you wouldn't use this phrase. And the ultimate form, the ultimate phrase is Diu lei lo mo chao fa hai, and chao fa means rotten. So when you say Diu lei lo mo chao fa hai, it's something that's, even if you're very, very angry about something, you should consider using this phrase. And the phrase lei lo mo, your mom, it's actually quite, you can use it in a lot of area in Cantonese. For example, when will you return my money? 你幾時還錢? Return your mom, or 還你老母啊. Okay, so that when you say that, it means you're not going to return the money. And a few months ago, because the word 你老母 can be, and it can fit into a lot of context as well. Even you can put it to replace an other noun. So in a few months ago, when the reporter were reporting the protests in Hong Kong, and the police were spraying pepper spray around, and even on the reporters, which is like globally not ethical to do that to any reporters. So what happened is the reporter said, "我係記者, I'm a reporter," and the police say, the policeman said, 記你老母, report your mom, which is well, I mean, in essence, it's quite meaningless to put 你老母 in everything, but it kind of exaggerate and rebound the meaning back to the person who's to give this it's like a very I mean, it's a meaningless rebound to any accuse or attack you're receiving. So, and that's a song I'm going to show you now. Okay, so remember the word 屌, okay, and this song will repeat this word over and over again. I'm just going to show you. Okay, so that song, I think when I show that song, the content, it's not so important, but it's just an idea to give you what this word can, how this word can be used in hip hop songs in Hong Kong in Cantonese. So the second word I'm going to show you is, okay, and this is another video of, it's a perfect example of how to use 你老母 after basically anything.
我做錯咗咩嘢先？你冇錯，你對我好好添。不過我而家唔中意你啊！大家都唔啱 feel 嘅。咩唔啱 feel 啫？我可以改嚟就你噶嘛？就你老母啊！一個 AM 一個 FM， 大家都唔啱 channel 嘅。我可以轉 channel 嘅啫。轉你老母啊！我哋願意盡啦。咩？
So you see, like he can say, "我轉你老母啊, I change your mom." I mean, in essence, that is a meaningless phrase, but you can use that as some kind of self-defense or return that attack to the other person. Okay, so the other one is 撚, which means dick or a cock, and this is one of the most playful word in Cantonese. I think you can put 撚 in basically anywhere. So one of the most, if you use it as a noun, is 撚樣, which means a dick face or dickhead, and you can put it in between words as well. So normally we say 好正, which is awesome, and you put 撚 in between, it becomes an adjective. So you can say 好撚正. And for example, another example is 黐線. 黐線 means crazy, but literally 黐線means the like jamming in the telephone lines, and this word came in around the 60s in Hong Kong when the telephone was being more popularly used, and the telephone line often jam together and makes some weird noise, so it sounds kind of crazy. So 黐線 becomes another word for crazy. So 黐撚線, when we put the 撚 in between cheesy and again and becomes fucking crazy. And this is gao. Okay, on gao it also means a cock or a dick, and the most common word we use is on gao, which is a stupid cock or stupid dick. The playful part of this is you can put lan between on gao, so it becomes on lan gao, which exaggerate your tone when you say when something is really stupid that happened, and you can say, this is ngong nan gao, so this is really fucking crazy. And another one, the fourth one is chat, chat tao pei. Okay, so it's chat tao means the head again, and you can be playful with the word head and put skin after it, so it becomes like a scalp, like dandrum. So you can say chat tao or chat tao pei. That basically means the same. And usually we use chat for something that it's like very silly or stupid, and if someone did something very embarrassing, you can say chat. Okay, like for example, what happened half an hour before when I thought I could just go on to YouTube and share my screen, and it didn't happen. So we're going through a lot of difficulties. I could say or chat jaw. That means I did something silly and did something embarrassing. So that's also chat, okay? And the last one, this is a very, again, hi is very offensive. Even if you're rude, you wouldn't say hi in any like just casual context. And hi always comes after chao. So chao hai, it's a very common phrase when you want to accuse somebody as like a bitch or a slut. You can say they are chao hai. And another common one is saw hai, like a stupid cunt. That's also quite common as well. Okay, and of course, another phrase is 屌你個閪, means fuck your cunt. And because this is so rude, even for the rude people, they invented another phrase that sounds similar to 屌你個閪, which is 頂你個肺. Okay, so 屌你個閪, 頂你個肺, which means bump your lung. And you can use this phrase quite casual. You can say when someone did something bad to you in a fun way, you can say 頂你個肺, okay? So, and because you can use that quite casual with your friends as well, 頂你個肺. And you can say this on television as well. This is okay to say on television, but 屌你個閪 is not at all. And of course, there are other words in Cantonese as well, such as, and these words in itself per se is not a profanity. So for example, 仆街, and 仆 means falling, and 街 means street. So the word in itself, it doesn't necessarily means anything rude. And this one, 冚家產, means your whole family died. And 屎忽鬼, the asshole ghost. It's usually used to describe someone who is a bit witty or cheeky. And this is also quite a fun word to say to your friends. But it also used to describe gay people, because asshole and ghost, asshole, it's refers to, so this word refers to like anal sex as well. But in fact, like the word 屎忽, asshole, it's actually a very literal word, because 屎 is shit and 忽 is the cave. So asshole, 屎忽, literally means the cave of shit. So you see that there's some very literal imagination in it as well. And 食屎 also, it's very common. I mean, even a lot of primary school kids say that just for fun, 食屎, okay, eat shit. Okay, so now I'll go into talk more about hip hop culture in Hong Kong. So I think it started to gain its popularity around year 2000. And when it came to Hong Kong, it was usually used as like a commodity to promote something for fashion, for other cultural commodities. And these two singers are one of the few famous in Hong Kong or in China and Taiwan singers that claim themselves as a hip hop artist, so-called. And the one on the left, it's called Jordan Chan. He looks like he's very into hip hop and things, but of course it was just a marketing strategy by the producer and his music company. And so, and the irony is that he joined the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party, around 10 years ago. And then he even became one of the Communist Party committee members a few years ago, which is quite strange, for someone who claimed himself to be a hip hop artist, and then he become part of this authority. And on the right-hand side is Edison Chan. He also claimed himself as an hip hop artist, and he also came from a wealthy family. So he also started his own hip hop label in Hong Kong around 10, 12 years ago. But now he's starting his other business and entrepreneur in America. So he made more fortune selling sneakers and fashion brands than being a singer or a rapper in Hong Kong. So yes, okay. So this is me also. I was also, this is me and my gang. I think this is maybe 20 years ago. That's the age when I started listening to hip hop, and it gave me, I was influenced by it, and I started skateboarding and starting to wear some baggy jeans and things. And so so you see, like, it's, people get influenced by this, kids get influenced by this hip hop culture in Hong Kong. Okay, so this is a band called Fama, F-A-M-A in Hong Kong. And what's interesting about this band is, well, they started off as independent hip hop group in Hong Kong. I think they self-funded their first and second album. But of course, like, similar to like Kanye West in America, I think the kids who are born after the millennial kids know Farmer, the two rappers, especially the two guys on top, as like TV presenters and comedians rather than rappers. Because I think that, yeah, so like Kanye West, I think the millennials will recognize him as like a cultural icon or fashion designer or entrepreneur rather than a rapper. Because of course, when they gain their popularity, they earn much more money in the popular mainstream culture than underground hip hop culture. But before they became mainstream, I wouldn't consider myself to be against mainstream. So I think there are a lot of musicians who became mainstream and still make a lot of good music. But for Farmer, they were much more critical in their lyrics and their songs before they became mainstream. And I think they started at around year 2000. And that's also the time when hip hop landed in Hong Kong, starting to gain its popularity. And there was a lot of discussion on whether hip hop should be, Hong Kong should have hip hop artists in Hong Kong, because hip hop itself, it started in America by the Black community. So this sort of blackness, so-called. It's very important in hip hop as well. And also in year 2000 is when Eminem started to gain his popularity with his second or third album as well. So I guess this also inspired people outside America to do their hip hop in their own culture. And so Farmer made a song on this issue in year 2000, their first album, because a lot of people were criticizing them, like, you're Chinese, it's inappropriate to be a rapper because you're kind of exploiting the struggle of the black community in America or in other country. So they wrote a song called Bodhi is Not a Tree. So Bodhi, it's a reference to Buddhism. So the story was Buddha was under this Bodhi tree, and he was trying to figure out why human beings suffer. And then he had this enlightenment after some time, realized that if this Bodhi, okay, so like we shouldn't be constrained by the forms of things. So Bodhi is not a tree, and if there's no stress within you, then there's nothing to stress about. Okay, like this is very briefly explaining a huge idea, but so the Farmer borrowed this idea and apply it to hip hop in Hong Kong. Like we shouldn't define hip hop as just as a type of music or culture or anything. It should be localized. It can be localized because it's an idea rather than a form of culture or music. Okay, so I will show you the song now.
hip hop 短毛巾，喺你哋打下沙盤問到篤嘅時候，諗一諗你係咪一時變，對一班存有偏見，甚至靈魂不靈死都唔認你係唔掂。淘汰本無樹，hip hop 短毛巾，甚至係1970年代嘅美國公民都未必識得佢，證明前點樣分香港嘅 hip hop 只有香港嘅意義，唔使跟。
Okay, so I think this song is quite important in the development of hip hop in Hong Kong because they start to localize this music in Hong Kong, not only trying to copy something from America or from the West. And of course, the music style or the flow or maybe the clothing and the dance and all that, it's still using American hip hop as some kind of foundation. But at least what is very important about this hybridity sort of in the Hong Kong the hip hop in Hong Kong, it's they really try to use this very distinctive language of Hong Kong called the Cantonese into to implement it into rapping, and also the context of the content of the songs. They're trying to respond to what's happening in Hong Kong at the moment. So, and other very famous iconic band hip hop group in Hong Kong was called LMF, the Lazy Motherfuckers. So LMF. And I think they were one of the pioneers of hip hop development in Hong Kong. And they started their band at around 1999 or even 1998. And again, gained their popularity around year 2000. I'm going to show you one of their songs again. So their first album, it's called The Estate Kid. Estate, like as in public estate, because in around 1960s, the British government set up this public housing system in Hong Kong, which the underprivileged people can move in and live there. And I think there are quite a lot of, there are one public estate in every district in Hong Kong. There are 18 districts. And I think probably over a few, even like a few million people live in those kind of subsidized cheap housing in Hong Kong. But it also creates problem inside this this estate as well. Namely, there are more crime, there are more undereducated people living there. So there's a lot of social and political issues within this area as well. So the LMF, most of them were raised in this public housing. And so when, so it makes sense, the first album and their first song was about the situation in this estate as well. And one of the very quite serious problem within this estate is the triads. So like the gangs in these public housings. So even there are a lot of like kid gangs there as well. I remember my dad, because my dad grew up in one of the public housing in Hong Kong, and he would get beaten up just randomly by other kids when he was like 13 or 14, or ask him to give them money or beat them up. So it's this created like a very distinctive like subculture in this estate as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you this clip by the LMF. All right, so let's see. Okay, that was one of the first song who they earned the popularity from. And I would say like as you can see from the translation, which I made, and it was very localized and we represent the lower class of Hong Kong. So it's kind of like this class struggle of people living in the public estate. And but you know, it's kind of strange as well, like because because you can have karaoke with this even for hip hop songs, even for rapping, you can have karaoke. But because karaoke, it's like a public service in a way, or public business, there are certain words you cannot use in this public business. For example, they use quite a lot of like slangs from the gang. For example, they said when they said they went out with the gangs, like 行出咗界, which they went to the territory of another gang, and the karaoke cannot show that because that's illegal to use these words in a public space. So they have to use another term for it. And okay, so this, but the music style of that song, the East State Kid, I would say it's more like a new metal, so something like Cypress Hill or even like Linkin Park sort of. So it's not just, it has some like rock or metal music feeling to it. And the next song I'm gonna show you, it's also by the LMF. And I tried to make some translation for this song, but it's almost impossible to do so because they are using a lot of references of yes, here it is. They're using a lot of references in martial art movies, kung fu movies, for example, and this song is about the sex industry of Hong Kong. So I think it's more like a witty, casual, fun song. So for example, here, this word 扯旗山, 扯旗山 is the highest mountain of Hong Kong. But in 扯旗 means pulling up a flag. But 扯旗 in Cantonese also mean an erection. And others such as here, like, okay, this is 電光獨龍轉. And 電光獨龍轉is a kung fu move invented in one of the kung fu comics in Hong Kong. So literally it means the thunder dragon drill. So how it works is the main character would jump very high and like creates this kind of what do you call it? Like so it will spin very fast and attack from the top. But what this refers to in the sex industry in Hong Kong, it means reaming. So it means licking the other person's asshole, so the anus. So again, like if I translate it as a kung fu move or translate it as licking the anus, and both of them couldn't get the essence of this word. And let's see what else. Okay, right, this one as well, like 軟腳蟹, that means the soft leg crab. Yep. So what it indicate is when, especially men, I guess, men, after they consume the service from a sex worker, and they usually have very weak legs because it moves a lot of exercise, I guess. And let's see if I can find another one. Okay, right, this one as well, like 上海街、砵蘭街，再落埋新田地. Okay, so this 上海街and Shanghai Street, Portland Street, and Reclamation Street are the three streets in Hong Kong with the most brothels or sex workers work there. So yeah, so I find it almost impossible to translate this lyric into English and have an idea of what it actually means. But I guess this is one of the first important aspect of localizing a certain external other culture in a domestic area. So I mean, this song, even if you don't speak Cantonese, or if you're not from Hong Kong, it would be impossible to understand what this song really means. So, okay, I'll play this song. Oh, and the song is called Wing Chun Kun. And Wing Chun Kun, it's one of the style that Bruce Lee used and practiced. And Wing Chun means the song of spring. But Chun in Cantonese can also mean, or even Chinese in general, it means feel very horny. So this is also the song of horniness. Okay. Okay, so that was the song of horniness, Wing Chun Kun, or the song of spring. And because the rapper in this song was one of the most iconic rapper in LMF, and he actually studied fine arts in France, and that's when he learned how to do graffiti in France. And he came back to Hong Kong after he graduated. This is, I think, in 1997, and he started to bring hip hop culture, including graffiti in Hong Kong. So he even invented Chinese graffiti. Okay, maybe I should find an example here, right? Because it has quite a different approach in yeah, so graffiti wasn't before graffiti was as an hip hop art form in Hong Kong. The only writings in public are the ones for like debt collectors. So if someone, for example, if you owe me money and you're not returning my money, I would write your name around the street, around where you live. So it's kind of like a public shaming. So it forces you to return your money. But when this rapper, he's called MC Yan, when MC Yan brings the graffiti culture in Hong Kong, it changed this vandalism in Hong Kong. Okay, so I'll show you. Okay, so this is MC Yan. Okay, I think this is quite an old photo, but these graffiti, like this kind of public art form, it kind of transcend the like how people see vandalism into art in Hong Kong. Right, so right. Okay, so this is like graffiti in Chinese. So it's graffiti is prohibited in Chinese. Okay. So I think one of the very important influence to LMF, because most of them were born in the 70s, around 70s. So that is when, and the 80s, it's when China is getting more unstable politically and economically. Well, I mean, economically, they're starting to open their trade with international countries, but at the same time, let's see. Yes, okay. At the same time, there are a few important things that event in China. So, for example, in 1984, that's when the British signed the joint declaration with China, and it ensured that Hong Kong will be returned to China in 1997. And although the Chinese side, they made a few promises to the British, such as they will give them the freedom of speech, they'll maintain the political and economical system, namely capitalism in Hong Kong, so it will not be a socialist city after the handover. But I think a lot of people back then were very skeptical about these promises made by the Chinese. And so, and in 1989, that's also the Tiananmen massacre, which a lot of in Beijing, the students were protesting for political change, for democracy, and so on. And at the end, the government sent the army to suppress the protests and kill thousands of people. There are no official numbers of how many people died, because the Chinese government never announced this. I mean, they don't even admit they have killed people in this event also. So now 1989 is still a censored number. If you go to a Chinese search engine and you look for 1989 June 4th, so 8964, and you'll not be able to find anything. But what these two events cause in Hong Kong is when people are more afraid of they're more worried about the future of Hong Kong. So, and they know it's very unlikely they could change anything with the situation in the future because, I mean, so because the Chinese government is so powerful and they know what happened with the history of Chinese Communist Party. So a lot of them decided to migrate to leave Hong Kong to another country. So here are the numbers. So the first line is the average migrants per year. So you can see that's a huge increase between 1987 and 1997. So on average, every year, 50,000 people leave Hong Kong. And if I'm right, I think almost 30% of those people who migrate are professionals or had higher education background as well. So you see, in almost 24 years, there are almost 1 million people who left Hong Kong to another country. And that becomes I think that becomes a topic for LMF as well. So, and I think I think most of them were born in Hong Kong and raised in Hong Kong, but as I said, like the MC Yan was raised overseas with sort of Western education. So he realized this phenomena in Hong Kong as well. So he wrote a song. Okay, this is MC Yan. Okay, I think this is more recent photo. So he looks, I think he's almost 50 or more older than 50 now. So the song is called Homecoming. Okay, let's see. Okay, so you see, it refers to, because this song was written in 2002, and that's 5 years after the handover. I think the first few years after the handover, when Hong Kong was returned by the British to the Chinese, the first year they were quite positive about things, because although because a lot of people believe, although China has done a lot of bad things in history, but they also see the especially the economical development in China. So they were still having some hope in China as well. Even so, so I think so it's around 2002 and 2003. People started to realize maybe they shouldn't be so optimistic about the Chinese government. And also in 2003, the Hong Kong government was trying to implement this law in Hong Kong. So it's called like a security law, and back in 2003. But at the end, the members of parliament, the legislative council did not have enough votes to approve this bill back in 2003. But although it was not approved back in 2003, but people are starting to see how the Hong Kong government was at a certain level manipulated by the Chinese government. So I think before that time, or maybe a few years later, maybe around 2006, 7, before, so in this like 5-6 years, the LMF songs were more focused on social issues. For example, such as things in local culture and in sex industry, or the class struggles, or other things such as how the media was not reporting the truth and all that. And politics is not such a big topic for the MF at that time. So I think it's around, yes. So after 2003, I think they started to realize it's not enough just to, I mean, they should have a voice out under this political context and this political change. So, but they also went less active after that. But I think that's more of commercial decision rather than because they were being oppressed. Because the thing is, after they were less productive around 2006, I think, they only have one song every few years. But these songs had become some kind of anthem for a lot of the protests in Hong Kong. And there was like the audience were so surprised, like their song was so timeless with all these political struggle in Hong Kong. So one of the most recent song, it's called 2019, because it was respond to the protests in Hong Kong and things. So I will show you here. Okay, so the 10 years they mentioned in the lyrics, it's because if you're charged with riots in Hong Kong, the maximum sentence is 10 years in prison. So, but I was thinking, like, because what's I like about LMF is I think they, although they are using a lot of this profanity, but they're still quite aware of some issues such as like gender issues, for example, because they never use 屌你老母 in their lyrics, which is fuck your mom. And I think because when they first came out, they were referred to by the mainstream media. They were referred to the swearing band, the swearing music, because before LMF, I think even there are some band albums released with with swearing inside, but they were never gaining popularity in mainstream media. So when the LMF got their popularity, they were referred as the swearing music. And because before year 2000, hip hop wasn't a thing in Hong Kong at all. I mean, a lot of people don't know what hip hop is. I mean, I remember when I was telling my mom, well, I mean, I didn't tell her that I was listening to this swearing music, but he found out that I was listening to these music. I think it's normal for like a Chinese family. They were looking at, they saw this band swearing, so they thought this must be unhealthy music for kids. And I also remember when I first went to a CD shop to buy an album by LMF, I was a bit like struggling because I was not 18 yet. I think I was only around 12 or 11. So it was, so this like swearing music, it's bigger than what hip hop is meaning when it first landed in Hong Kong. But of course now, after 20 years, I think a lot of people understand it more now. And I mean, not all rappers have to use profanity in their words, and especially when it's receiving more mainstream attention in Hong Kong. So, for example, like the group Farmer I showed earlier before, I think they never use profanity in their music, in their lyrics, and especially when they are having so much attention from the mainstream now. I mean, they're on television. They're doing they're sponsored by a lot of companies and endorsement for a lot of brands. So, but of course, hip hop with profanity is still important. One of the important like style in the music as well. So this next song, right? Okay, right. So I'll explain this graph as well. And so with MC Yan, okay, he was very aware of how to rhyme the lyrics in the songs, because I think he's aware of the importance of maintaining Cantonese as well, as because it's such an iconic, important cultural property of Hong Kong. And in Cantonese, there are 9 different tones in words. So, for example, for FAN, like fan, the pronunciation fan, if you put it in 9 different tones in Cantonese, they would sound like fun, 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 fut, fat, fut. Okay, so like a first slight change in the tone can mean totally different things. So this means to separate. This means powder. The third one means to accuse someone, to teach something. The fourth one is to burn something. The fifth one is to work hard at something. This one is a portion. this one is suddenly, and second to last one is to expand something. The last one is punishment. So just like for very slight change of tone can mean a different thing. Even for the word "deal" for fuck, "deal." Okay, so first one is deal, 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 deal. It can mean totally different things. So okay, for the second one, deal, it means fuck. So and the first one, deal, can mean lost something, and it can also mean a kind of bird. Most of these words are not very common in daily lives, so I don't know some of these as well. And the third one is this one is deal, which is fishing. Or this one, deal, it means hanging, and deal means a tongue, and this deal, it means to lose something. So I think it was and I think the development in Hong Kong of hip hop in Hong Kong, it still follows the trend in America as well. So I mean, well, when it started, that's when Eminem was being more accepted by the Black folks in America as well. So that's when Hong Kong started to develop their own Hong Kong Chinese hip hop culture or style. And I think more recently, when this like mumble rap was getting more popular in America, and also in Hong Kong, they were also having this trend of mumble rap as well. And in America, there are more rich kids doing hip hop, and in Hong Kong also there are more kids returning from abroad after their study or whatever, and returning to Hong Kong and trying to make this kind of like a bourgeois cool thing to do. You know, I'm a rapper. I will start out rap, but the thing is they don't have this foundation of the Chinese language, so it becomes, I wouldn't say good or bad in the musicality, but I think cultural wise, something was lost, something was changed. And okay, so I'll show you two hip hop songs which are produced by more recent hip hop rappers, artists in Hong Kong. And the first one is by a Filipino rapper in Hong Kong. It was actually the first Filipino rapper in Hong Kong. And the title is called Fuck the Popo. And again, like, and he used the phrase 屌你老母 a lot, like fuck your mom a lot, which, well, I mean, I understand why they want to use it, but I find it a little bit disturbing from time to time when you use that so much as like a hook line for the song. Okay. So again, this song is about the police brutality in the last year in Hong Kong. I didn't translate the lyrics, but I guess from you can tell what's the content or by his expression.
Fuck the popo, do they know more? Fuck the popo, fuck the popo, 200萬加一，我哋守住一齊瘋，咪撚同我講你為份工，屌你幾錢人工，催淚彈、橡膠子彈，呢班撚嘅自 由揮，我咪戴住眼罩口罩頭盔做個自由閪，嬲嬲地站咪，我要屌班捉夢鬼，未撚冷氣先將正義收皮啦，偽進仔寧願做你口中嘅暴徒，我都唔肯願做兵，黑色弱智驚我 black everything， 圍住警察總部個個閪冧屌，班撚屌，搞到我哋學生市民受困擾，我哋保留自由身軀認清道理分真假，你哋擺明作賊心虛，所以膊頭冇面打。Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！警察手法邋遢，知法犯法，仲要咁撚串，你遲早玩撚完，係人都知你攬緊權，意志堅定，態度鮮明，講明不撤就不散，你搞啲濕鳩大龍鳳，你七嘢一日到一彈個踢再射波，出撚到要射歌，快啲叫肥佬落嚟掟兩句，快啲叫一哥，我哋罷工又罷課，唔係同你班傻閪玩，攞苦夠工上撚晒裝，當你晒咗當雞蛋唔聽我哋要求，濕鳩下下要苗頭，見撚晒紅點會拖起態度我照搞 ，And we sing hallelujah to the Lord。And we sing hallelujah to the Lord. Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母 ！Fuck the popo， 我屌你老母！
Okay, so the sing hallelujah to the Lord was a reference to one of the strategy used by the protesters in Hong Kong, like the protester from the church in Hong Kong. They were surrounding the police and start singing this Christian hymn, like sing hallelujah to the Lord. It like continue for, I think, for almost 12 hours non-stop. So, and other reference I'm going to show you is these. It's what I would refer to like this bourgeois hip hop groups. I think when you listen to them, it's already very obvious that their style of Chinese, it's very different. It's almost sounding like English in a way. And I think this is not only a problem with rapping or in music. It's something that's happening to the Cantonese or the Chinese language in Hong Kong in general. The younger generations are more adapting to this English accent Chinese because usually the ones who can afford to study abroad are the ones like in the middle class or upper class. So when they grew up outside Hong Kong, learning Hong Kong outside this Chinese speaking region, they have this like a slightly different accent to the Cantonese. And it kind of like represent like a social status, like I can afford to go out to study. So that's a term in Hong Kong called ABC, like American born Chinese, for people who talk like someone who grew up abroad, or someone who have a living style different from the Hong Kong people, like the domestic way of living or thinking. So I'll show you this. Sorry, I think they have English language, English subtitle. Let me just reopen that again. Okay, maybe they don't, but doesn't matter. Okay.
我就 smoke， 唔穩真感情，所心術石來搏。屌你身邊好多負面，住完鬆未拉褲鏈 ，bad vibes 唔使再見 ，cash out 我就袋錢，經歷咗啲嘢，心態保持冇變。Pull up to the party， 間唔中飲 codeine，lean，they don't mind the haters， 我就繼續進步。0至100知你跟唔上我進度，同啲低人溝通唔到冇晒信號。I be on my grind， 你哋迷路我就使咗好多錢，但唔緊要賺翻雙倍。Pull up with that Gucci belt， 以為我嚟自同鄉會，每日寫幾個 verse 我就當係鍛鍊。條女中意我夠正面，我就叫佢擰住面。Bitch。快，一切開到200，可能揸得有啲快。壞習慣要戒，好似警司警戒。Mentally 我太高，已經超越你班正常人心態。打個電話嚟，唔係 pick up， 拍頭講埋晒啲負面嘢，我當你夠噏。嗰啲老嚟傷心地哭泣，為咗唔知啲乜流眼淚，我就黑洞燒波宇宙音樂界，太空新人類，掃咗好多層，地獄好多層 ，CEO 高層，大盤數攞緊粉，食緊植物，種緊植物，以為我係聖業，大量可以現金問我做緊乜嘢職業，我對香港地下 hip hop 繼續保持正面，保持聯繫，保留我嘅語言，保護大自然，保證垃圾 rapper 可以回收再用有貢獻 ，DM 正面啲科全部真俾你驗。
Okay, so you can already tell there's a big difference between this kind of like mumble rap in Cantonese and the rap from the LMF. But again, like I wouldn't say this is better or worse. I mean, I think musicality-wise, I do prefer the previous one, but this also represents how this generation it's treating hip hop as something that reflects their way of living. So you can see like on the newspaper, that's this other rapper dude who was driving in another country, and they're reading this Western English. I think was it Wall Street Journal? So it represents this other upper class rather than the political struggle with the LMF. Okay, so maybe just before I finish, I'll show one more song by the LMF. Okay. Oh, but maybe before I show one more song by LMF, I would like to comment about the hip hop development in China as well. Because in China, they're having a lot of censorship in basically everything. So that's no way you can rap about fuck the police. You cannot rap about bitches. You cannot rap about drugs. You can not rap about gangsters. So what is left to be rap, it's something that's usually very positive. For example, how you chase your dreams and how you were trying to be a better person, and how great China is. And there's one quite a popular song even in America as well. It's called Made in China. It was by a label in China called Up 88. And well, I mean, it's pretty much what it is. I mean, they rap about how everything is made in China now. Like you should be more thankful to China. Of course, I mean, if I'm to comment about the music, the flow, the groove, the beats of this song, I think it's a great song, I think. But when I, as someone who can understand Chinese, it feels kind of awkward in a way how hip hop has only become this political tools in China. So even they have a Chinese like rapping competition in China on the television, you were not able to rap about anything negative at all. So you can rap about like, so I've said this before. So it's a very strange phenomena in China as well, and I'll show you this video here.
China, believe in saying, what is this Chinese rap music? Sounds like they're just saying ching chang chong. My chance to go watch Made in China. We play ping pong ball made in China. Get bitch medicines pig made in China. It had brother black car made in China. She said that she didn't like me. She said that she didn't like me. She said that she didn't like me. She lied, she all made it in China. She all made it in China. She all made it in China. She lied. 老总把你叫醒 ，Made in China， 牙膏牙刷上面挤 ，Made in China， 把早餐放进陶瓷碗 ，Made in China， 擦唇膏出门打起伞 ，Made in China， 坐在公司里，旋转办公椅，360度，熟悉累积，钢笔画了一朵莲花 ，Cookie 需要放在夜吧，相框里面框住全家，全部 Made in China， 全身上下总有中文红，压力上来也有中文口 ，Chinese 不进 local 口音，野火燎原淋上酒精 ，Made in China 的关系 ，Made in China 被挑衅 ，Made in China 的我，老百姓用的开心 ，Made in China 的 no。 I got a bitch up in China. I like the fuck up vagina. I get the money, no mind. Don't look my diamonds, I swear they might blind you. I got a bitch, I signed her. I got a bitch, I signed her. Sight, that bitch, you remind her. I get the money like diamonds. Bitch, I'm in Soho. I fuck on two bitches. Little boy, you so. I'm whipping them Mazzy, I got them from Tokyo. These bitches falling everywhere I go. I get the money everywhere I go. Wait, they calling me Dexter. Two bitches falling like feathers. Yeah. She lied, Dexter the EY. Me high, with some melody guy. She could tell what she like. 不是火山脸，也不可能变。桌子上面放的麻将，一瓶拉给我的辣酱，外地人会受不了的辣，嘴巴开始发烫。回到我的菜，狮子手，我狮子头，点燃后头现在是时候，有发语料被我吓一跳，一直围绕这个话题找，还是疯癫掉，上到龙点到，你们家的东西全都是中文叫。放水 ，Made in China， 从台积2个亿都8个针 ，Made in China， 万里长城 ，Made in China， 从秦始皇陵到紫禁城 ，Made in China，You don't really know me， 我的世界休息，藏在我的手里，也在我的手里，有点我怀疑你哪能对不起你历史中创造最神奇的国度里 ，Made in China 能对付你，而现在 Nobody save me。My chance to go watch Made in China。We play ping pong ball, get bitch mad and says pig. The black car, she said that she didn't like me. She said that she didn't like me. She
Okay, so that was the Higher Brothers, and they were quite good. They do have a bit of popularity in America as well. But since last year, quite a few of their gigs in America was cancelled, especially during the protests in Hong Kong, because they were posting some posts on the internet supporting the police and government in this Hong Kong protest. But it wasn't said if they were cancelled because of this, but it may be for that reason they were being cancelled. So, okay, so last one I'm going to show you is this other song by LMF. Okay, so thank you for participating this presentation, and sorry for the technical difficulties at the start, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I mean, do look up LMF or like Hong Kong hip hop on YouTube or Spotify, whatever. It's because I mean it's I mean, I like to listen to other music in different language as well, and it kind of gives this sometimes like a revelation on, oh, okay, like this could be, music can be sang this way. So thank you. Let me just get this video going. This song is called The Devil's Sanctuary by LMF.
Considering what the world is now, with all the misery, conflict, destructive brutality, aggression, and so on, man is still as he was. Is still brutal, violent, aggressive, acquisitive, competitive, and he has built a society along his line.